Welcome to Hanger Chat number 2. Oh, oh, I've got to stop doing that. Right, I identify as being invisible. You see, I was born visible and now I identify as being invisible because I am translucent. And my pronouns are who and where. Anyway, so hanger chat number 2. Now, the first question I have to sort of answer to people is, why did I delete my first hanger chat? It's quite simple. My good lady said, I'm not happy with you telling the world about yourself because people are out there and they could say or do things and stuff. And I went, all right, okay. She's giving me a hard time about it. So in front of it, I deleted it. But I'm going to re-upload it. So if anybody out there has missed it, I'm going to re-upload it. It's probably going to be more interesting than this hanging chat anyway. Now, why have I not posted any more builds about the Fokker DR1? Well, the reason is I have been building a Bluetooth speaker cum radio for my good lady. Now, she doesn't make me do these things. I did because she's asked me to do it for her parents for their wedding anniversary. So she wants a handmade radio, so I've been doing that. And also my lawnmower, which is a petrol lawnmower, which is an Allen 218SI hover mower. I've been fixing it and it has tested me quite a bit. Although I'm quite handy with the old mechanics, I used to strip engines down when I was a kid. My father taught me how. And the throttle linkage that goes from the governor that works in conjunction with the choke has so far up to now eluded me, so I'm still working on that. So I stripped it all down and I cleaned out the carburetor and everything. So doing this and doing the lawnmower has taken up my time, plus I've had to go to work. Simple as that, really. So in this hangy chat, what am I going to be talking about? So I'm hoping to show you some of the models I have, and it's really sort of pointing towards if you're a new flyer or new to modelling or come back to modelling. So what preempted that? Well, I was on a job very recently and I was talking to a guy and he was explaining to me that he bought this foamy. Foamy is basically a plane that's made of foam. It's usually white foam. I can't forget the consistent words, FPO or something. I'll find out. And he said, oh, well, I bought this model off the model shop and it wouldn't fly and it crashed. And I said, well, are you used to flying airplanes? He said, no, I've never flown one before. So I said, well, didn't it ever occur to you that you can't just get a model and expect it to fly first go using your radio control? Never occurred to him. So I said, you don't know things about like centre of gravity, you know, so that it's balanced correctly and all this? No. So I thought, okay, you know, this is a grown bloke. So I thought, well, I'll make this video, the hanger chat, about that. So flying is completely opposite. You know, it's chalk and cheese to building your model. But you see, if you're building your model to have a radio control, you're going to want to fly it. So, you know, you can't think it to be reasonable to build a model and you don't know how to control it and be a radio control pilot and expect it just to fly. It's just unreasonable. You're in cuckoo land if you think you can just do it. You might get a 10-second flight out of it, perhaps, but you're gonna prang it. You're gonna take it home in the bin bag, and you're gonna do what I call a sudden stop. I don't have crashes. I have sudden stops, um, which is actually quite a bit of a rarity lately. I suppose I should touch wood on that one. So, right, what do? You built your model. You're not a flyer per se. So my best advice is to go down to a local club. Now, if you go down to my local club, I happen to have my high vis vest here. This is my model club, Green Acres Aero Model Club. That's our emblem. I bought this myself. They don't supply it, but you can get these things made up for about £6 or £7, which I think is about $38 million or something. And we have the ruling body here is the British Model Flying Association. I know that Canada and America have their own version of that, and they have to go through an exam and so forth. In the UK, if you want to take your A certificate, the A certificate is your basic certificate to prove your competence to keep a model in the air without hitting anybody in the back of the neck with it, or a dog walker. Dog walkers are a bit of a pain in the rear end. And you have to do certain circuits and very basic manoeuvres and be able to take off and land safely. Then you gain your A certificate. Now, once you've got your A certificate, you know, you can join the BMFA without having an A certificate, but you join the BMFA, the British Model Flying Association, and with that you gain an insurance. And this is the thing that people don't quite understand is that if you're going to make a model and you don't know how to fly, and you get so far with it and it hits somebody and injures them, they're going to sue you. Yeah, they're going to sue you, and quite badly. And so therefore you get insurance with the British Model Flying Association, and they cover you for legal fees and any damage that you might do to a person, or even their car. You might hit their car, you might hit their building, you might hit their dog, or whatever it is, you know, you're insured. And I think the indemnity is up to £1 million, which in American money is like billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. So yeah, go to a model club, go up to somebody and say, you know, who's the chairman, who runs the club or whatever, I'm thinking about joining. And then in our club, it's a guy called Jim, very nice guy, I get on with him quite well. And you say, well, Jim, you know, I'm a new modeller, I'm building models, I'm doing the fucking DR1, and I want to learn how to fly it. And he'll immediately say, well, forget about flying that because it's too unstable, you're a novice. We have a trainer, a trainer aircraft, and we have an instructor who will take you under his wing, if you'll excuse the pun, and he'll teach you how to fly. Do your A certificate, and you know, so you're competent, and then we'll have a look at you flying this fucker DR1. We'll probably get somebody else to fly it for you first to make sure it flies. So when you're a member of a club, you've got that security behind you. You've got people who are willing to help you. Some more than others, yeah, that's human nature. But there'll be somebody there who will say, okay, my friend, you know, show me your fucking DR1, and they'll make sure it's all balanced out and the movements are all working and everything else. And you have more of a chance of building your fucking DR1 or your SU5A or your little glider or whatever it is, and, you know, not taking it home in a black plastic bag, which you've probably, you know, spent, not a black plastic bag obviously, but you spent a lot of money on this model, and you don't want to, you're not going to pay all that money out to fail. Yeah, you don't want to come to a sudden stop on your first flight and go, oh, I can't do this and whatever, and that's cost me all this money, and I've had to buy batteries and all this sort of shenanigans. So you really are better off joining a club. if you are in the remotes, usually nothing's remote in the UK. I mean, we're all like this, you know, shoulder to shoulder and falling off the white cliffs of Dover like lemmings. We're so overcrowded. But if you're out in the sticks on one of the continents, you know, like America or Africa or Canada or India, you know, my best advice is find somewhere with some really long grass, you know, like up to here, because if that goes down, it's going to land in something soft. My second advice is, you get a lot of people that say, I want a helicopter. No, you don't want a helicopter. You really don't want a helicopter. Trust me, if you're watching this now and you're thinking about a helicopter, my friend, just shelve it. Don't, you know, don't forget about doing it. But what you've got to recognise is that flying a helicopter, you know, it's four-dimensional, and it's got a whirling blade on it, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to try and take off with that helicopter, and that blade's going to hit the ground and it's just going to shatter into pieces. And the helicopters are very, very expensive. They're very, very difficult to fly. And what you need, again, is to go to a club that flies helicopters. You phone them up to say, is anybody there? Teach me how to fly a helicopter, until you find a club that does. With helicopters, you have to have extended feet coming off the skids. It's to stabilise it. You fly about 3 inches off the ground, and if it wants to tip, you know, this cross piece with, usually I think with tennis balls on the end of it, will stop your helicopter from tipping over and smashing it to smithereens. The British Model Flying Association does have an A certificate scheme for helicopters, and because of protesters doing stupid things around airports, we now have it for drones. We do have some people in the club that have drones. They only there long enough to get their certification to fly, and we never see them again. Some people quite like that idea. Me personally, I'm not bothered. As long as that drone is not flying in front of my aircraft, I really couldn't care less. Yeah, and it's all down to people doing silly protests at airports that spoilt it for everybody else because they just think about themselves. And this is the point. If you're buying a model of any kind, don't just think about yourself. Think about the people that are around you and how it's going to affect them. Yeah? Because how would you feel if you took a model and you can't fly it and it hits a child and injures them or kills them? You can kill people with these things, you know? It's not difficult. So that's what you've got to think about. Don't be selfish with your flying. Now, the other thing you've got to consider is that once you do learn to fly, is to pass on the love. So when you become an experienced flyer, you can say, well, this is how you go about it. Come to my club. I'll introduce you to the right people. That is the responsible thing to do. And you're not irresponsible, are you? I know you're not. You're a good person, and I can tell just by looking in your eyes. So that's basically what my hangar chat is about. Now I'm going to just cut the camera now, and I'm going to show you some models that I have, which I can or cannot recommend. And my advice is not to build one to learn. Buy a foamy. They're relatively cheap. You haven't got to make them. Some of them you have to put the wings together, but I mean it's a 10-minute thing, and it's not difficult. And you can readily learn to fly. So I'll be straight back.
Now, if you want to learn how to fly, my suggestion, I could say recommendation, I think this is probably, in my own opinion, the best trainer on the market. This is the Apprentice. Now, there's been upgrades from this since I bought this. I've had this quite some years now, and anybody who wants me to take them up in the air, I use this, the Apprentice. There is a radio set that comes with it that will not allow you to do stupid things, and I have never had a problem with this. I've never had a sudden stop, and I would highly recommend this model. And then once you've gained some your A certificate, is then take out that particular radio, put a normal radio in it, and you'll be okay. This thing floats like a glider. It really is very, very stable. You can stunt it if you're experienced. Now the next one I would recommend is the Visionaire. Now this one's the night Visionaire. It has lights in it, so you can fly at night. I don't fly at night. I don't see the point. But anyway, this one, you can use it as a trainer. It's quite gentle, and then you can increase the rates on it. That means increase the movements, and you can do some real aerobatics with this. It's a good all-rounder, and in the right hands it's very, very aerobatic. Next on the list is the Riot. Now the Riot has very little dihedral in it, and you can do a lot of stunting with this. Well, a lot of people use this as a trainer. My only real criticism of it is that the undercarriage is a little bit fragile and it won't take a heavy landing, but they're not expensive. The Visionaire is a little more expensive, but it is more forgiving, and the undercarriage will take a heavy landing. The Apprentice will take a very heavy landing. The only thing I altered on it was the front wheel. I put a larger front wheel on it so the propeller will miss the ground if the ground's uneven. There is one very similar to the Riot called the Watt 4. In our club we call it the Watt Crash, because everyone who owns one crashes it. So you have to make your own mind up. But the Watt 4 is very, very similar to the Riot. Now you're probably wondering what's this on the wing here. Well, this is a servo, and we'll go back in the workshop and I'll explain what that's all about.
Okay, so what's this all about? Well, what it's all about is doing pre-flight checks. And before you ever take off with a model, you must check that everything is working. So your aileron's moving in the right direction. Obviously, if this aileron's up, your airplane's going to tilt this way, and if it goes up here, it's going to tilt that way because that aileron will go down. So they've got to move in opposite directions. This looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Anyway, and your rudder's working in the correct direction. Right is right, left is left. And obviously your elevators, when you pull the stick back, that goes up, and when you push it down, the elevator goes down. So you have to make sure that you don't unexpectedly do something and it's gone the wrong way. That's very important. Now this is how this comes into play, because I did these checks before I took off with this, but I didn't take off with this because I did my pre-flights. I realised the rudder was not working because the servo had seized, and if you want to do stunts you need a rudder. So if you say, for instance, you're doing your B certificate, you need to do a stall turn, you're going straight up and you flick it over like this, you need a rudder to do that. Plus the rudder was stuck sort of like that, so what it's going to do is fly around in circles. Not bloody good to me. So I've had to change the servo, and that's what this is all about. So where does that servo go? That servo goes in here, and if I got more time I'll probably make a video about it. I don't know. I think you're all waiting for that fucker DR1, aren't you? But anyway,
that's for the rudder, and that's why I'm showing you this, and that's why this aircraft is still in one piece, because I did my pre-flight checks and I didn't hurt anybody. So, you know, just think about other people, okay? It's safety. I know you want to have your fun, and I know where you want to fly your Spitfires and your Hurricanes and your P-51 Mustangs and your P-40s. I know I do. I've got them all. But look, you know, if you're not an experienced flyer, don't go buying a Spitfire or a P-51. Buy a trainer. Learn how to fly, because I will guarantee you 10 quid, which is what, I don't know, $50. You know, you're going to crash it. Why would you do that to yourself? You know, you'd have to be mad. Go and fly a trainer. And once you learn how to fly, you got half a chance of flying your P-51 and your Spitfire and your Messerschmitt 109. You got a chance of doing it, and you got less chance of hurting some innocent bystander. So doing your pre-flight checks is very, very important. I've seen some very experienced flyers not bother because they're overconfident, and they've done a repair or something and glued the elevator or the ailerons or something, and they haven't checked it, and they don't move because they're glued together. I've seen people do it nearly every week. This is why you need to check that your model's working. In fact, it's best to put it together and check that it's working before you take it out of the house. And don't do what I did the one time, forget your radio, and then have to come all the way home to get your radio. So yeah, check that your battery's fully charged, make sure you've got your radio, you're binded to the receiver, and that everything's fully functional. Now, if I'd have done that before I left home, I wouldn't have bothered taking it to the field, and I wouldn't have lost an hour of my life. So that concludes my hangar chat for today, and I do hope that you've enjoyed it.